Welcome to the SeriesPod podcast. I'm V.
And I'm Andrew. Get your favourite beverage ready and join our book club. Welcome back to SeriesPod. Bum bum
Hi,
bum.
friends. Welcome back.
We hope you enjoyed the last episode, where we found out the killer. Ooh, spicy.
Ooh. Yes, we have finished the book in the last episode.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
And as per usual, we're a podcast that talks about book series. Today, we're gonna start a new book. A Glory in Death by J.D.Robb.
Woo! Go JD.
This is the second book of now 51 book series because she's coming up with a new one in September.
In September? Oh my god. Is she gonna stop writing books?
Well, she said that she's gonna stop writing the In Death series at some point. Probably when Eve and Rourke are gonna have babies.
Well, she needs to hurry up because if we get through these books and we start a different book series, how are we going to come back? Like, welcome back to SeriesPod. It's the In Death. And what should be like 3.2?
I think if listeners will get tired of the In Death series, we will include another book series, like
shuffle it up a bit kind of thing.
Yeah, and then we'll do, week In Death, week...
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
But yeah, we can do like 1 week In Death series and then 1 week something else. Whatever people will want.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But today we start Glory in Death. And we will start, as usual, with a summary. In the first few chapters, we meet our first victim, a well-known prosecuting attorney. She is killed in a dark alleyway with her throat slashed. We also get a glimpse at the current relationship status of Rourke and Eve. They're going through some things. He's all in, she's not really all in. We'll get into that more. We start getting more action with Nadine that we met in the last book, the reporter, because now everyone's working against a new face, also a reporter, named C.J. Morse?
C.J. Morse?
We'll call him C.J. from now on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, C.J. Morse. I just called him C.J.
He's a very unpleasant reporter. The victim is also the commander's good friend, and he is a bit of a mess. In the first few chapters, we get into the investigation. We interview some people. We interview the victim's lover, who is also a business partner, also a friend of her ex-husband. We basically get reintroduced into the story.
Yeah, I think it's very formulaic the way that she writes it. So it's always like a shock for the first few pages, like she finds her with the throat slashed. So the book opens with, she's like wearing a suit in a shitty neighborhood. She's found dead on the floor in the pouring rain with her throat slashed. It's very it's kind of written, kind of graphic, but not really, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, the whole thing starts very morbid, especially the first few sentences where the writer describes, I guess, Eve in relationship to her job. It's like, she knows death. She sees death. It's very morbid, and it's raining, and they're in some shitty alleyway with this woman whose throat is slashed.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be Eve.
I, for some reason, imagined a start of a TV series of...
It sounds like a series... was it called This Series of Unfortunate Events? Did you ever watch that? It sounds like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That was
exactly
the most depressing
like that. So
thing
it's
I've
very...
ever watched in my life.
So we meet our first victim laying in a dirty sidewalk in the rain. She's very well dressed, by the way, and all her possessions and jewelry are still on her, even though...
And that that came up quite a few times, didn't it? Where they were like, it wasn't a robbery.
Yeah.
She didn't live in this area, so they were wondering, why is she there? She didn't tell anybody she was going here. So, that's probably the first thing. I think one of the most interesting things in the first few pages as well was, in 2058, they had genetic testing to find violent traits in people.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think that's pretty cool. I think, because obviously with all the genetic modification things being tested now, it is possible. How do you pronounce her name? Is it Cecily or Cicely?
I say Cicely. So let's introduce our victim. The woman is Cicely Towers, a powerful woman in her field. Her job is a prosecuting attorney. She's 45 and she's divorced. So yeah, so the overarching question in this murder mystery is, why the hell is she in this neighborhood?
Yeah. And like she went up against the worst of the worst. So
Oh yeah. She like put in jail so many people. It's insane.
yeah, I think as a whole I did like this book. I found it more interesting than the first one. But yeah, it had a good entrance to it.
Oh, Bish, we'll get into how good of a book it is.
Oh, I forgot you didn't like this one.
I like the book. I do not. I will stand against the ending of the book. Like 2 or 3 chapters before the ending of the book.
Are you gonna tell us at which point?
Oh yeah. No, I'll point it out.
Okay, good.
I will make it abundantly clear to people.
Okay.
Dear listeners, you're in for a ride. I'm gonna be so testy.
Honestly, if you guys saw the messages that I got.
Because this one just,
It really got to you, didn't it?
Yes, it did. I did not like...
So, Eve ends up at a flat.
Well, before that, it turns out they did take a couple of days off recovering from the bullet injury on an island.
Yeah, I was like, the ending of that book didn't say that she got shot, but then at the start
What
of
do
this
you
one
mean?
it
Yes,
did.
it did. She got grazed in the shoulder.
No, so it said there was okay, we read that 2 different ways then. Never mind. I thought he hit her and like it grazed, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she did take a few days away on an island, I think.
She was reminiscing about it.
Yeah, so would I. Rourke, where you at? Come on. I want an island getaway.
Then we get into the apartment.
Okay, yeah, so this is where we get into the apartment. She seemed fairly wealthy. That took Eve by surprise. So she had paintings by a 21st century artist, which she only knows because she's with Rourke. Well, in her head, she's with him, but not with him, which we will get into, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the flat is very tidy and elegant and expensive, as you said. And this again confuses Eve as to why was she in I think it was the West End. So she, looks around, records some stuff, and then she goes to Cop Central.
Yeah.
Where the commander asks her to come into his office. And we find out that the victim and commander were really close friends.
Yeah, they've known each other for years and years and years.
Yeah, and he does say that he pulled some strings to get Eve primary on this case because he has no objectivity on this case at all. So he needs someone he can trust to find justice. And that's our darling Eve.
They talk about it, but then she immediately goes like, how did you know it? She basically starts interrogating her boss and then needs to talk to his wife.
Yeah, so it turns into an interview. That also puts Commander, he understands, but he's also on edge. And then he says something that was such a low blow. And it was completely unnecessary. And he does recognize that and immediately apologizes, but geez.
But he shouldn't have said it in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah, he said, you wouldn't understand family, Eve. I was like, oh, this rude little shit.
I know. Oh, so rude.
Considering she was abandoned, that's a real low blow.
Yeah, and he knows that.
I'm not impressed by Whitney, regardless of what happened.
So we leave the meeting after that, basically, in a very kind of not pleasant aftertaste. So the only viable route to take now is to ask around the neighborhood, which is what Eve plans to do. Before she goes there, however, Eve gets a call from C.J. Morse, who is a reporter with no moral code whatsoever. He's like a sly slug.
Yeah. He seems like a weasel, yeah.
Like a weasel. That's a good one.
She really doesn't like him. And from the get-go, when she sees him, it's...
Yeah, it's like, ugh, why are you here? He asks her to give him info. She denies, obviously, and CJ gets under her skin. But she does, however, shut that stupid grin off his face. Stupid grin. By implying that he's back on the gossip beat.
Which is where he came from, for anyone wondering. He used to do gossip news and he hates being reminded of it. But hey, she's had a shitty day. She's gonna throw it up. She'll do whatever. I think it said she only had 3 hours of sleep between sleeping with Rourke, not sleeping, and the
being
murder.
called onto the scene, yeah.
Yeah.
We also find out from CJ that Rourke had dealings with the victim. So Rourke is coming up in the case again, but this time he has a really good alibi.
Yeah. I mean, although that looks even worse. It looks almost as bad as the last book.
Tell the people what alibi he has, Andrew.
I think they realise that. So
yeah, she was with Rourke.
yeah, Eve is the alibi. Let's just put it that way. Next question.
A hardcore alibi.
Oh, I'm sure it was hardcore.
I mean,
Anyway.
it kind of implies that in the book.
Ew.
And that's how we leave chapter 1 and we begin chapter 2 by...
Or Eve arriving at Rourke.
Well, yeah, because she wanted to go to her own apartment to brood and to think and to sleep. But then she still goes to Rourke's.
So I don't get why she'd do that. You want coffee. She wants coffee. And sex. And coffee.
Okay, sex fine, but she does have coffee in her flat.
Oh, yeah, she does, because Rourke got her coffee, didn't she?
I think it's more of a... she feels safe and familiar at her own place. So she has that routine in her that she solves cases in her apartment. But yeah, she still goes to Rourke's.
Although last book proved that her apartment's not safe. Anybody fucking walks in.
Yeah.
It's time to move, lady. It's time to move.
And even the surveillance is just not doing anything.
So she arrives at Rourke, and my favourite bit is that Somerset still hates her.
Oh yeah, they still... Oh, they're in such bad relationship with Somerset.
Yeah. I love it, though.
I do too. Kind of.
It's just bants. Although to him, he's dead serious. But Eve, hands him some worn, torn leather jacket. Like, take this.
Please.
We also got a glimpse into Rourke's house. I'm trying to find the exact page because it was beautiful.
Do we?
Yeah, it was like all glass. Where is it? So he's got trees going up the driveway, white blossoms flowed along.
Oh yeah, because it's spring, isn't it?
Yeah. The house apparently is quite big in terms of like physical height. It's got stone, it's got glass sparkling. This is like what I would imagine is the nicest house in the world. Have you seen the TV show the movie Crazy Rich Asians?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you need to watch it. There is a house in there that is kind of described like this, and it's beautiful. Yeah, it's a great movie though. It's 10 out of 10. I recommend it to our listeners too.
Oh, there you go. She goes to take a bath because, stressful.
She wants to de-stress, yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading that and I was like, oh, I should go take a bath. And I did. It was wonderful. I recommend. She orders the water with the Fahrenheit degrees, which still gives me anxiety.
Why is America the only country that uses Fahrenheit?
Yeah, and like the logistics of it. If it's just...
But her bath was hot.
Yeah, 102 degrees is hot. Hot.
Which is like 39, 40 degrees Celsius.
Do you take hot or cold baths and showers?
Did you just ask me if I take a cold bath?
Well, not like cold.
Do you mean like lukewarm, kind of?
Yeah.
So I start off kind of lukewarm and then I add hot.
So in the end, are you... making a soup out of yourself.
Yeah. I sweat in the bath. 1000%, yeah.
So she's laying back in the bath. He finds her. And I like that he could see right through the fact, like, to everyone she would seem relaxed, but he knew otherwise she was, like, planning and thinking.
Yeah. She had a little, like, crease on her brow. Fists balled up.
He has a bar in his bathroom.
I rate that. I like take drinks to my bath, to be honest. So, yeah. I want one with snacks as well. I'm not going to lie, I'd eat in the bath. As long as it's not crumbs.
Probably don't want the sprinkle into your bath.
I want hundreds and thousands.
That's a bath bomb you didn't want.
Ever dropped like a scone in the bath? Is disgusting. I don't know why I had a scone in the bath though. Like, I just remember.
You eat scones?
I will eat whatever the fuck I like in the bath. Even crisps.
No, it's fine. I'm just in general. You like scones?
Yeah, if there's enough like clotted cream and jam. You don't like scones? It's just like dough.
No.
Why?
You might as well just take a loaf of bread and slap some jam on it.
And the cream.
Sure, whatever.
Don't forget the cream.
I don't understand the point of a scone.
Such a hater on scones, jeez. Anyway, Rourke hands Eve a glass of wine.
Yeah, he also says that he loves her, and she says, well, She has no answer to that, so she frowns into her wine.
I thought by now she would have at least said it. She frowns. She frowns at someone saying, I love you. Meanwhile, she's just been on an island with this man.
Yes, but she frowns into her wine. So I imagine just sitting in the bathroom going,
Oh, like trying to avoid the
someone
conversation.
just
It's like,
yeah,
next thing.
so he goes like, I love you. And she's like, oh.
That noise.
So they talk about the victim as they normally do. Well, I say normally, as they did in the previous case. And he does say that the victim was dangerous, but not directly to him, but like small and large.
She was dangerous to illicit activities.
So she starts to kind of interrogate him as well, and the best lines ever. So he starts to undress, and she's like, what are you doing? And he says, if I'm gonna be questioned by a cop in my own tub, at least I can do is join her.
I'ma hop in. Yeah, we're gonna sip wine and bathe. But he's just being a pervert. Since he entered that bathroom, he was being a perv, which I'm just impressed.
He does say it's his bath, so, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
You're in my bath, I can perv all you want.
I can just imagine like one of my friends bathing in my bath, like, I'm getting in too.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Yeah, so they talk about the case and how they're connected, and she definitely does kind of interrogate him, which he doesn't like.
Yeah, obviously.
I think he took the wrong message.
Yes, and I have a note on this somewhere later, but yeah, he tapped on the tile and the music came on.
He's ready. He's ready to go.
In every single room.
Literally.
He knows the victim because she and her former husband and their friend George Hammett work on on the board of his company, one of his company divisions that does shipping and rapid transport. So Cicely left her husband and then got on with this George Hammett person, who we're gonna talk to in the next chapter, I think.
And during the interrogation, Eve was like, is there smuggling going on? Just flat out asks him, which I don't think was unreasonable. I think that's perfectly fine.
Do you know what? It's perfectly fine, but the way she said...
Did you think it was a bit unfair?
I mean, it's just the way she said it. At first, I didn't quite understand why she was being so testy.
She's had a shitty day. She slept for 3 hours.
Then we discovered that in her brain, she's already 10 steps ahead of. So she was asking how much illegal activity does the company do, because the victim, Cicely, was known to be like a super clean person in business. So if she found out there was illegal stuff, she might have gone for work. And then he like very arrogantly says, so what? She discovered me and I had to lure her into dangerous neighborhood and then get her killed.
Yeah.
So he still doesn't quite...
Yeah, he always says the wrong shit. I think Eve was trying to protect him, which I think she went on to say later. She was like, you don't understand, like, the connections to you, I'm trying to keep you out of it.
Of course, she doesn't think that you did that. And then he catches on. He's like, oh, but others will. And she's like, well, yeah, others will. And then that puts me into a tricky situation, because I will have to then interrogate you even though I know you haven't done anything. So she will have to prove otherwise, but she wants it to be very clear.
Yeah, because we were banging the headboard.
Yeah, but I found it quite interesting how she expresses her feelings through still being and identifying as her job. Like, even her, heartfelt feelings still went through Cop Eve.
She was doing a nice thing, just the wrong way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, he understands that. He goes on to saying that later, that
she is her job, basically. But he knows that.
He does have a good grasp of that there are two people who have made and remade themselves into what they're now. But he does assure her that Mercury, the company, is legitimate now because it has no reason not to be. He also offers to help the investigation.
Yeah.
And I think it still makes Eve uncomfortable, but she's sort of like accepting it. She's like, oh, okay, if I find how you can help, then I'll ask.
But then after the bath, Eve relaxed, let Rourke take her to the bedroom. I'm surprised he left the bathroom. And then she's asleep. He's lying there awake, and he's actually got worry on his mind. He's worried about her. and worried about the investigation. So he gets up.
Eve woke up to the smell of lovely coffee in the morning.
And had a smile on her face before her eyes even opened.
Oh, yeah.
That is how I imagine we would wake up. Actually, when I get brought coffee in the morning, I'm smiling and I don't need to open my eyes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, coffee.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you.
I love the joke he made about her only wanting him for coffee.
and
then I love just as equally how Eve was like, well, the food is okay and the sex isn't bad either.
They have a good funny relationship.
Like, it's not just the coffee.
Yeah.
They do have those like little one-liners that they pass back and forth that I really enjoy.
I'd like to see more of them, yeah. It shows the sign of a good relationship. It's funny.
Yeah. When Eve is not tense, I really like their dynamic.
Yeah. I think if she continues to be a bit tense through every book, I think it might become a bit tedious, but I'm hoping she chills out a bit and finally acknowledges that, you love me, I love you, woo, that kind of thing, I don't know if that'll happen though.
We start to see more and more tension with him wanting the relationship to go forward and Eve not being able to accept it or accept her feelings towards Rourke. So he does sort of hide his irritability on the matter. But he does, so the narrator through Rourke does say that things will have to change and soon if they're going to keep doing this. Because otherwise, all they're having, what did he say, is some...
Then we have nothing but some rather intriguing sex. He's definitely pissed. Like, he's had enough of this. But little jabs. Be gentle.
They turn on the news. He suggests look at the news. And Eve gets furious with the reporter CJ, who we've met.
And now we realise why she doesn't like CJ. Full of shit.
Yeah, and I think you have some points on the matter.
Yeah, so he's basically using Rourke's name for anything. But he said that Eve Dallas won't comment on a cover-up, which to us there was no suggestion in this, so clearly something is going on behind the scenes, or he's just trying to grab viewers' attention. And he said that Eve didn't know anything, even though she's primary.
Yeah, he's a weasel that wants to climb up the career ladder. Real bad.
Yeah, he's desperate. And I think we find out later that he's I think he works in the same company as Nadine.
Yeah. It's channel 75, isn't it? 57?
Yeah,
75?
yeah. But obviously CJ is the one taking shots here.
Yeah, because Nadine is off planet.
Yeah, and she ends up swiping the screen off, getting angry, and Rourke didn't understand why. And she was like, it's because he was about to say something about you. And then she explains, because of you, my life's in the media. I have no privacy.
He's very unsympathetic about it, I think.
I think he's just delusional.
I also think he doesn't quite understand her point, because he really doesn't care about it.
No, he's pretty happy doing whatever the fuck he likes. And to be honest, I don't blame him. I'd do the same.
But she decides to give him the CJ the perfect payback, to give Nadine an exclusive.
An exclusive? Ooh. Any reporters out there know how important and exclusive it's? Sorry. You best.
Oh yeah, money.
Indeed.
Rourke then gives Eve the file.
And she immediately complains, says, you didn't have to do that, I didn't ask you to do it.
That's true. But he gives her a file date on Hamlet. No. Hammett.
Yeah.
Hammett. Not Hamlet.
Shakespeare just getting thrown in the mix.
Hammett and files on the company Mercury. We leave this chapter with her saying that she's working on it. And it was very out of context, so he was like, working on what? And her answering that she's working on accepting her feelings. And then he suggests, well, maybe work harder.
I like that.
I did too, because he's really
And it's completely justified.
Oh, absolutely. They're always on different levels of the relationship. I mean, Rourke is way ahead of her in this. So if you compare the two, of course, the little signs of affection that she gives him kind of are not balanced with how much he's giving her.
Yeah. She also strikes me as someone who never really dated prior to this, whereas he sounded like he not dated, but, was with a lot of women.
Yeah. I mean, we do get that because she has said that she's only, she hasn't stayed the night with anyone or anything. We then start chapter 3 by Eve calling Nadine.
Waking her up in the middle of the night?
Yes, because of the time difference. On other planets?
Yeah. My favourite line from that is, "Are you awake, Nadine?" She says, awake enough to hate you."
We find out that Nadine hates CJ too. He has been cutting her off on all the juicy cases. Eve basically says, "You want something great?" And she's like, "What, an exclusive?" So they set up a date. She's like, "Get over here." And then Nadine's like, "I'm already on the plane." Which reminded me, how I think we've done that a couple of times when we would schedule to meet up.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, I'm 5 minutes away while I'm putting shoes on." That kind of reminded me of that.
Oh, of course. I mean, but the thing was, you only lived up the road from usually where we'd meet.
Yeah.
Like, usually it was
But
around
still, I'm
uni.
like, I'm 5 minutes away and I'm like still putting shoes on.
Bullshit. This bitch just got out of the shower.
Yeah.
Whereas me, if I said I'm 5 minutes away from lecture, I was still at home.
Yeah. Oh my god. I remember the lecture was about to start and I texted you and you're like, "I'm just walking to the shower."
Yeah, I think that was Joe's class. I was always late to Joe's class. I felt so bad.
Always.
At least I didn't arrive like in Simon's class. I used to arrive with food. I was late as fuck to his lessons. I used to bring in lots of food. Yep, I didn't care.
He was probably very jealous and very hungry looking at you.
He could have asked for a snack. I would have given it to him.
So now we're off to see George Hammett.
Yes.
Who turns out to be a very dramatic man when it comes to appearances and aesthetics.
Yeah. And yeah, I think he lived by his aesthetic as well, which is what we find out a bit later.
Yeah, that was the weirdest comment ever. We'll get to that. So we find out that he saw Cicely on the night when she was killed. They had dinner and then they took a taxi and he dropped her off at her place. Then he came home, took a trank because he had an early meeting in the morning. And he looked like a rather devastated man.
Yeah. Eve was like confused. Is he, killers feel remorse too, or is he genuinely devastated? And as you read these pages about how he's feeling and when he's talking, you can kind of like imagine it in your head watching someone break down.
Yeah, that's true. It's very well written.
It is, yes.
He also says that she seemed totally normal during the dinner. She talked about her daughter's upcoming wedding. So like wedding dresses, flowers, etc. Nothing that would indicate, trouble.
Yeah, nothing that would bring a reason to go to the neighborhood.
Yeah. Eve asked if it was like a normal thing that he would drop her off at her place. And then that's the comment that he made that...
Yeah, he said that they live separately for aesthetic reasons. I was like, what do you mean? And it's just, they have different tastes.
Yeah, but is it just me or is that weird?
That's weird. I get like people might have different rooms, like watch TV in separate rooms. Living in separate buildings? Nah, that's strange.
Because, you don't like the color of the carpet?
Can you compromise? These two were not compatible. We could see this already.
Do you know what? I think there was like a deeper underlining reason why she didn't want to move in with him.
He's a creep. He's not, by the way. He's not.
We don't
Although
know that yet.
Actually, no. She was creeped out when George met her.
She was?
Because I think he kissed her cheek, no? He crossed over to her, cupped her hand in both of his, and then his lips brushed her cheek. She winced. So maybe he's a little bit weird. Maybe that's why she didn't want to live with him.
Maybe. Eve then asks about her ex-husband, and George denies that it could have been him because their relationship is friendly and they're both devoted to their children.
Good parenting, I suppose. Good for them.
She leaves George and goes to the West End where the murder happened. And the neighborhood is absolute trash.
Yeah, the description of it was like, I don't want to go there during the daytime.
Yeah. Imagine trash and then imagine worse.
Yeah, imagine the tip that trash goes to.
I mean, I don't even like Camden, and I think Camden, in regards...
Camden's beautiful.
Oh, don't even start with me. Don't even start with me with Camden.
Oh, no. Listeners, she is incorrect. Camden is beautiful. Parts... Okay, wait, no. Let me backtrack that. Parts of Camden are beautiful. Camden Market is lovely.
Yeah, whatever. Just no. Listeners, Andrew is being delusional. Sleep deprivation has gotten to him.
Camden's lovely. Parts of it.
Part of it. What part of it?
The market.
That's like, I don't know, 10 square meters.
Such a hater. Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, do you know, okay, yeah, fine. I like the outside market that they have. The little canal that goes and the Starbucks in front of the canal. That's it.
Yeah, and behind that is the food places. That's all I go for.
Yeah, but that's not Camden. That's like 5 square, like a radius of 5 meters of Camden.
I'm there for the market. That is it. That is Camden to me. Camden Market. Oh, what is this face I'm getting? Readers, you're going to have to tell her to chill out in the comments.
Yeah, so neighborhood. Terrible neighborhood. The rain on the night of the murder washed away most of the blood, so she decided to work backwards. And in my mind, when I was reading this, it was like like the latest Sherlock Holmes BBC series, how when he thinks there's like
the images in front of him, like he replays the scene. Yeah,
images and graphics that goes on. So I imagine her doing kind of that.
Yeah.
So while doing that, she realizes that there was no umbrella. That also reminded me of Sherlock Holmes when they were doing the pink suitcase.
Yeah, I mean, it was raining, so where's her umbrella?
Yeah, because she was a well-put, meticulous woman, so she probably would...
It wasn't like she was short for cash.
Yeah, so she probably left home because she knew it was raining with an umbrella.
So so then there's my question that I had. Do you think she had an umbrella with her and the person who murdered her took it, or do you think she met someone like straight out of a cab, whoever she was meeting had an umbrella? Do you know what I mean?
Well, we do find out that she didn't take a cab. There was no records of it. So Eve proposed that she took the tube because it was fast and efficient. And then we find out a bit later that she did have an umbrella with her.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Not by cab to date.
We meet Crack. He is a bouncer of a strip club, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like, do you want to make some money?
Finish the sentence, fella.
I don't remember what exactly he said.
Shake what your mama gave you.
He then also mentions that he wasn't on the night of the murder, so he wasn't working. It was his day off, and he was with his girlfriend at a vampire festival. Now I have a question. He phrased it as if vampires were real.
Yeah, and he also had sharpened nails, so...
Well, yeah, but he's a bouncer, so in a bad neighborhood.
Okay, I suppose you could just jab someone.
But vampires?
I think he's delusional, you know?
Yeah, so I couldn't quite understand if it was...
If it was something that ended up happening. Because after 2020, who the fuck knows?
Yeah, so if it was actually vampires or Crack was just a bit,
I think Crack was on crack, let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, his name is Crack because the sound that happens when he cracks two skulls together. Do you know what when I first read it, I sort of skimmed his appearance and the way he was talking and his name Crack. For some reason, I don't know why to this day, but do you remember watching Aladdin the cartoon?
Yeah.
Do you remember when do you remember when they got stuck in a dungeon and then Jafar turned himself into this creepy old toothless man?
And that's how you imagine Crack. That is like how I imagine Somerset.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Old. Looking like dust is coming off of when he walks. Oh no, this episode is going to be so wild. It's going to be us just laughing at random shit.
I mean, the last episode was the same.
Yeah.
But the first time I read it, that was what I imagined Crack would be. But then I reread it and he's actually a mountain of muscle.
Yeah, he's a bouncer.
He's a bouncer with like a tattoo of a skull on his face. And he's like, yeah, my name is Crack because that's the noise comes out when I crash two
what
skulls.
the sound makes, yeah.
So we find out that Cicely waited in this place called 5 Moons for someone. But they didn't show. So we go to the 5 Moons. And do you remember in the previous book when we went to the Blue Squirrel and you told a story about how you went to a place that had bars on the bar.
Yeah, so there's bars and bulletproof glass. This gave me big vibes of that. Yeah.
So Blue Squirrel is a bit better without the bulletproof glass.
It's just got the bars.
But the place you went to is the Five Moons.
Yep, sounds exactly like where I went. If my cousin ever listens to this.
She asks the droid at the bar about what he saw. So I imagine droid is like a robot, right?
Yeah, so I think what you're going to come up to is what confused me a bit too.
What confused you?
That droids can be bribed.
Yeah, they can be threatened, they can be bribed. Well, at least this one is. Because at first he's like, oh, I'm not programmed to give out any information. She's like, listen, I'm gonna shut this whole thing down if you don't tell me. And he's like, oh, okay, well, she came in at this and this time and then left at this and this time. We don't get much from the droid, but he did say that she left with the umbrella. Then Eve goes back to Cop Central feeling dirty. Dirty. And then Feeny is back. Yay!
Woo! Oh, we love Feeny.
We do love Feeny. Feeny is back. Whitney asks him unofficially to assist Eve. And then Eve is like, do you want to do it officially? Which Feeny is like, I knew you would say that. And she asks him to go through all the people that Cicely locked up in the previous years, which horrifies Feeny.
It must have been a lot of people.
But of course he agrees.
Yeah.
And that's how chapter 3 ends. And this is also the end of this episode.
Woo! Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for all the random laughs and stuff. It's been entertaining. I liked the first 2 chapters. The third chapter for me felt a bit dry. I found it interesting that the droids can be bribed because I guess they get programmed human emotions and, like, as you said, they can be threatened. I find that pretty... But fair enough, whatever. 2058.
I don't know how I feel about the droid thing. I kind of like that we got a bit more of the world setting in this book at the beginning of it as well. I like how Eve is getting cornered, where she has to face her emotions a bit more. So she's opening up new layers of herself, new possibilities.
So one bit at a time, letting Rourke know she knows.
So I don't know, I liked it a lot. And I'm also wondering where the umbrella is.
Yeah. So that obviously became a key piece of evidence.
And also if vampires exist.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I think crack's on crack. And I think the people cracks together are also on crack. Sounds like a horrible, dirty neighborhood.
Crack squared. Or cubed.
Cubed sounds good. Crack cube, that's as good. That's going to be his little nickname.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
This episode is available at SeriesPod on YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, Spotify,
iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. And for those of you who like the creme de la creme of audio platforms rather than the mainstream ones,
we're also available on Podcast Addict and on our website.
Link to which you can find on our Instagram.
Speaking of Instagram, for updates and fun content, you can follow us there. And if you have a personal favourite audio platform we are currently not on, please do tell us and we will do our best to get us on there.
And before we go, a very special thank you to our Patreons for supporting us.
If you want to support us too, you can go to patreon.com/SeriesPod.
And in return, we post the podcast there early, as well as include some fun outtakes. Alright guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we can't wait to see you back here next week.
Yeah, we'll have more juicy stuff to tell you.
Oh yes. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you later.
Bye.